You're listening to the Music Business Breakthrough Podcast with me, your host, Grammy-nominated artist and certified trauma-informed success coach, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics that is so important and often forgotten by musicians, and that is the simple idea of goal setting. I don't love the word goal. It implies that there is an ending, but we're just going to use that word because everybody knows what a goal is. I like to use the term champagne win, and here's why. When I hear musicians set a goal, I often hear things like, I want more followers, or I want a bigger impact, or I want to reach more. There's usually a more word. But the problem with that is, if I sign up for your email list, do you have more fans? Are we really excited? Does that feel like a win? We want to make sure that the goal is specific enough that when you achieve it, everyone knows when to break out the champagne. That's why we call it a champagne win. Now, for some people, that's a chocolate win or it's a shoe shopping win, but you've got to find something that is going to inspire you to call your version of this win. Some of you may have heard what a SMART goal is: specific, measurable, blah, 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 blah. But the thing I don't like about SMART is R is reasonable. I'm not a fan of reasonable goals. I'm a fan of being unreasonable. It is not reasonable for me to have thought that the album I made on a cross-country train trip, completely produced and composed in 5 days, would have been nominated for a Grammy. But that's what happened because I was unreasonable and I set this champagne win that was very clear. Get a nomination. I either did it or I don't. We're either breaking out the champagne or we're not. And I'm able to use that as data. That's the other great thing about having a very specific goal like a champagne win, is you get to measure what worked and what didn't work. When we look at what we achieve as data, we take out a little bit of the emotions. Some of us don't even set goals because it feels too scary to imagine, what if I don't hit it? What if I say I want this thing and then I don't get it? Am I going to feel stupid? Am I going to be disappointed in myself? Now, I don't know about you, but it sounds like a pretty bad idea to not take action simply because you're afraid of potential future feelings. I don't know. I wouldn't be afraid of your own feelings. Once we do some more work in this podcast, you're going to identify that feelings are a source of power. And if you're able to regulate your nervous system and deal with any emotions that come up, you're never going to be afraid of your own emotions again. And that's going to open up a world of champagne wins that you may have never thought possible to achieve. So let's get into how do I identify the perfect champagne win for this time around the musician success cycle. And if you don't know what that is, go back to the episode where I define the musician success cycle. Let's talk about your champagne win. We already said that it needs to be specific enough that when you share it with someone else, they'll know right away whether or not you got it. They'll know whether or not to break out the champagne. So that means that it is something that you can add a number to, or there's a I did it or I didn't, kind of like the Grammy nomination. For a lot of champagne wins, there will be a deadline. So I would like 1,000 new Spotify streams by the end of October, right? The more specific you can get, the more data you can look at. If you just say, I want 1,000 Spotify streams, cool. By the time you're 104, right? So again, we want to have as much specificity as possible so that you can look at whether or not you hit it and then take actions accordingly. The other reason it's really important to have something specific as a goal is so that when you share it, which by the way, I would attribute me talking about my goals as one of the biggest reasons why I achieve them. But when you share this goal, it's got to be so clear for someone else. If your goal is not clear for you, it's definitely not going to be clear for anybody else. And so people are not going to know how to show up for you and how to help you achieve this goal. When you're really clear on your goal and you say it, they're going to be like, oh, I know someone who can do this, or what do I need to do? And then you can answer that. So for example, when I declared to my fans, all right, I want to get number one on a new age chart. Let's go. That means that it's going to help me a lot if you purchase this album. Here's the link on how to do that. Because if I just said I want to be number one on a chart, they're going to be like, Okay, cool. What do I do with that? So you have to have a goal that you can not only express, but easily answer the question, how can I help? If someone asks you, if a fan, friend, family member says, how can I help you achieve that goal? The worst thing you can do is not have an answer. So when you have a specific goal, it's a lot easier to have an answer to that question, how can I help? Because you're really clear on, well, these are the steps that I need to take, and here's how you can help me. Great, great. It's worth mentioning that it is a good idea to share your goal. I see some things on Instagram and TikTok and people saying, don't share your goal, just work at it and then share when you've done it. I think that's a terrible idea. First of all, you're going to be able to get that achieved way faster by sharing it with other people because you never know who's going to show up and help you. The second reason is that there is actual data, research that's been done that shows that you are 35% likely to achieve a goal if you do it on your own, but 70%, like, oh my gosh, double the likeliness of achieving your goal when you share what the goal is and when you share updates with people. That is the power of accountability. That's the power of a coach. That's the power of being in an environment, in a community where other people are cheering for you. This is what we do in Amplified, my mastermind that I talk about a lot. If you want to check it out, go to www.inthekey.co/amplify. So take a look at, what do you want for yourself right now? Are you working towards a goal, or are you just doing a bunch of random things that you think you should be doing because you saw some other artist do it? That's not any way to run a career. When you get a really specific goal, then boom, you have a clear action plan. You work backwards. What are milestones I need to hit in order to get that goal? And then you take actions that are going to hit those milestones. You suddenly have a clear path, all aligned with your commitment. Go back to that episode if you missed the commitment default conversation. And you don't need to get distracted by shiny object syndrome, squirrel, which is so common for so many musicians. There's so many different ways you can go, like go touring. You see someone do really well on Spotify. You see someone get a TV placement. You're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to take that course. I want to read that book. I want to do it. And it's so easy to go all over the place. That's why you need to know where you are in the musician success cycle. You need to know what champagne win you are working for right now and what actions you're taking that are directly going to help you get there. Any other actions are a waste of time and are helping you be less effective, which we don't want. The musician success cycle is a great way to break down that champagne win that you want at the end into actionable milestones and tasks. So let's put this into real life. Let's take an example here. Let's say you want 1,000 new streams on your single. Let's say it comes out in 2 weeks and within 6 weeks, you want 1,000 streams. There are some actions to take. The win is 1,000 streams. So the first thing you have to do is create the single. That's the phase 2, right? So let's just say you've created the single. Phase 3 is the sharing phase, okay, and the preparing and the admin and all that stuff. So let's get our pre-save link, right? Let's get the editorial pitch copy ready to go, all of that stuff ready to go. Phase 4, this is when you get to pitch it within 7 days of your release on all the platforms, wherever you're going to be, going after the streaming goal. We said Spotify, so on Spotify. And you can start to pitch to playlisters. I love Submit Hub. You can go to www.inthekey.co/Submit Hub and get some free credits. But you can search for playlists that are exactly perfect for your song and then pitch to those people for just a few dollars. And they're completely legit and they're always vetted, so you know you're not dealing with any bots. So go to the curators, try to get your music on some great playlists so you can get to many people at once. Then let's shift to your fans and your friends and your followers on social media. Ideally, you have an email list, so you'll be able to say, all right, game on. Let's try to get 1,000 streams on Spotify by whatever the date is. And you're going to ask them, of course, to stream the song themselves, but you can also ask them to share the song on their social platforms and tag you, and then you can share them, right? So there's this whole back and forth and bringing them into team, let's get 1,000 plays, right? So you want to make sure that you're sharing that goal so that people know how to show up and give them great ideas on how to do that. Once you hit that deadline, you get to share whether or not you hit it. If you hit it, you're celebrating. You're saying thank you to all these people that showed up and helped you. Or if you didn't hit it, you can acknowledge how far you got. We made to 820. I am so psyched, and I know what I'm going to do differently next time. And there's no shame around not hitting a goal. There's just data. So if you give yourself the gift of setting a specific goal, sharing it with your fans, asking people and making powerful requests so that they can help you achieve this goal, then you're going to be set up for a super career that is just going to be growing and expanding every time you come around the success cycle. All right, go check out Amplify, because honestly, we talk about goals and wins and champagne wins all of the time. The energy is so good, and this is the accountability and the kind of community you want to be in. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people around you, financially, energetically. So don't you want to be around people that are also career musicians doing what you're doing and going after the same kinds of things? It's good stuff. All right, www.inthekey.co/amplify will get you there. Also, make sure you've downloaded the Releasify app. I will see you in the next episode.